Middle, same reaction. Kathy Engelbert should resign as the commissioner of the WNBA. And the reason I said that, fellas, is because when a player, and Nafisha Colley is a star in the WNBA. This is not some role player. This is her, okay? Who also happens to be a vice president. You understand?
The most surprising part of the talk about Caitlin Clark possibly leaving the WNBA isn't the idea itself, but how quickly things changed. Just a short time ago, everyone was calling her the future of the league. Now there's talk of a labor dispute, and suddenly even calm, reasonable comments sound controversial. That makes it clear something important happened behind the scenes that had nothing to do with basketball. The real question is what actually went down when the league's biggest star ran into its loudest political groups, and who misunderstood the situation first.
Finally came out. Caitlin Clark voted on by general managers, the best point guard, the best shooting guard, and the singular player they would start the franchise with. In the weird, insular WNBA, this has been a real struggle. You know the truth. And there's these people who are gatekeeping mentality. We'll tell you who's great. Colin, I was watching the WNBA long before Caitlin Clark. Well, yeah, it's not my problem.
What's really surprising in this whole situation isn't that talks with the WNBA Players Association broke down early, and it's not just the possibility of the league heading toward a labor fight.
Everywhere you turn, Indiana Fever is breaking records. All Cheryl Swoops did was validate all the speculation that there's folks hating on Caitlin Clark. That's all she did. Because to know basketball like Cheryl Swoops does, to be as accomplished as she is, to be the Hall of Famer that she is, all accolades that are well-deserved. And I'm certainly not attacking Cheryl Swoops the person because I think she's a wonderful.
What's truly troubling is how fast the whole system fell into panic. The moment one player slightly stepped outside what everyone expected, everything unraveled. For years, people were comforted by the belief that the league was bigger than any single player.
Came in that everybody wants to watch, kids, everybody. You're sitting there beating it up and doing all this. All y'all become is hated. Like, have y'all not paid attention? No one is caring about anything else. You want to beat on it, they're going to hate on it. You want to talk, they're going to hate on it. Like, there comes a point where reality has to kick in. You can keep fighting the fight, and you're going to be the odd person that looks bad. Do they not know, like, when she was gone, it went back to the year before she was in the league. Yeah. Like,
the people were told to relax and go along with it. Then Stephen A. Smith blew the whole thing open, reminding everyone that neat stories fall apart fast when money, power, and big egos collide in a small space. Just a few weeks earlier, that storyline seemed impossible to challenge.
The commission, and I say that not in any kind of derogatory way. She was talking about Kathy Engelbert directly. She revealed private conversations, you understand, with quotes from this lady, the commissioner, about what she said that came across as dismissive, as derogatory, and unappreciative.
This felt like the league's moment. Women's basketball was finally in the spotlight. Arenas were selling out, TV ratings were soaring, and teams were finally flying charter. Everyone was congratulating themselves and acting like the job was done, as if the league had crossed a finish line where nothing could go wrong. Growth felt guaranteed and success seemed certain. But while all this momentum was building, the players' union chose that exact moment to take a big risk. Instead of waiting for the current contract to end or easing into talks, they opted out 2 years early and jumped straight into negotiations, convinced they had all the leverage. From their point of view, it made sense, attendance was up, viewership was booming, and sponsors were lining up. If there was ever a time to ask for more pay, better benefits, and a bigger share of revenue, this was it. What they overlooked was that the league's profitability was still very new and heavily dependent on one major driving force, and they assumed that growth was permanent, spread out, and impossible to disrupt.
Someone like her just start dominating, you're like, oh yeah. It's just exciting.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah, she's obviously doing amazing. Her game speaks for itself. I think my favorite part is just women's basketball, women's sports really, but women's basketball has been on the rise. Like this moment, we kind of needed something.
This is
to
that
just
moment.
like, yeah, and Caitlin's that moment. And I think a lot of it has to do with her logo threes. But you can't really talk trash on a logo three.
So a logo three is...
Stephen A. basically reminded everyone that this surge in popularity has a clear face and a recognizable star, and ignoring that fact isn't brave, it's bad business. While the union focused on making loud demands and showing its bargaining power, Caitlin Clark made a much stronger move by saying nothing at all. She didn't do interviews, make public statements, or post anything online. She simply chose not to join the next big project everyone assumed she would. When Unrivaled offered her money, ownership, and public support from veteran players, she turned it down and went to play golf instead. That quiet decision spoke louder than any protest. Stephen A. didn't call it retirement or rebellion, but something more worrying, a calm step back meant to send a message without causing a scene. She didn't storm out, she just walked toward the exit and left everyone wondering if she might actually leave for good. This is where the union badly misjudged things. Most players truly need a new CBA because their current pay, benefits, and travel conditions are barely sustainable, and that's not an insult, it's reality. Wanting better conditions isn't greed, it's necessary. But Caitlin Clark doesn't live under those same pressures.
That golden goose per se, that rising tide that's lifting all boats. I stand by my past proclamations that there's resentment towards her because of that. But I want to take it a step further. There's also resentment towards her because she instigates resentment towards her sometimes.
He continues to bring this up in so many arguments, and I just don't get it because it has been disproven so many times. Like, please find me the multiple clips of the many times that Caitlin Clark was doing this in.
Her WNBA salary is only a small part of what she earns compared to her endorsement deals. Her personal brand succeeds on its own, separate from the league. Companies like Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, and Wilson didn't sign her because of a union contract, they signed her because she shapes culture and draws attention. Stephen A. kept stressing this until it couldn't be ignored. If the league shut down tomorrow, most players would immediately lose income, but Caitlin Clark wouldn't. She has enough financial security to walk away from basketball entirely and still be set for life. That difference changes everything. This is where the golden goose idea fits perfectly. The union wants a share of the revenue boom from this season, but that boom came from one main source. You can't spend a year letting that source take physical punishment on the court, face subtle criticism in the media, receive lukewarm support instead of real backing, be left out of Olympic conversations despite being the biggest draw, and then watch narratives downplay her impact while still making money off her. Stephen A. didn't dance around it, he called it what it was, a mix of jealousy and denial, a toxic combination in any workplace, especially one that depends on public interest.
Gave you a person, and now you're rejecting it. Y'all should be like Caesar. I appreciate you, Caitlin. Thank you. I can eat a little bit better. She got paid this. She get a signature shoe. Hey, I'm a two-time MVP. I'm a champion. The fact that there's this much animosity about the person that's feeding you. And I'm going to say it just like she's feeding y'all.
Yes.
Doors that y'all didn't do. So to be honest, shut up. Because y'all couldn't do it. Just accept it. And
the facts are hard to ignore, even if they make some people uncomfortable. Wherever Caitlin Clark played on the road, arenas sold out. The Fever were drawing bigger crowds than even the back-to-back champions. TV ratings jumped on the nights she played, and merchandise sales exploded. Networks didn't invest in the WNBA because of vague ideas about progress, they invested because people were actually watching. When the union pushes for revenue sharing without admitting where much of that revenue came from, it risks pushing away the very partners paying for those raises. League leadership deserves criticism too, and Stephen A. made that clear. Allowing a hostile environment around the league's most valuable asset is a massive failure. Any well-run business protects its main source of income. Psychologically, this may be the league's biggest risk. By the end of the season, Caitlin Clark didn't just look physically tired, she looked emotionally drained. Every look, every moment, and every reaction turned into non-stop analysis. Stephen A. argued that stepping away isn't weakness, it's self-preservation.
And mention a multitude of players, and not one of them is Caitlin Clark, who, by the way, as a rookie, is leading the league in assists. How do you do that? I told y'all that. I've argued with the great Andrea Carter, outstanding analyst for ESPN, right here on this podcast. I've argued with Janae Ogumake, who's an outstanding basketball analyst, and Monica McNutt, one of the preeminent voices of the New York Knicks, and what she's doing with her career. They know they got my support, all love. But I'm waiting for you to say I was right. Caitlin Clark can ball. She should have been on.
He pointed out that a long list of players was mentioned, but Caitlin Clark wasn't one of them, even though she's a rookie leading the league in assists. He questioned how that makes any sense. He said he's argued this point many times with respected analysts like Andrea Carter, Chini Ogwumike, and Monica McNutt, people he respects and supports. But he made it clear he's still waiting for them to admit he was right. Caitlin Clark should have been included, and she should have been on Team USA.
Indiana Fever star was named Time Magazine's Athlete of the Year earlier this week, and she took time to acknowledge that race played a role in her success this year. Here's a passage from the article in Times Magazine. Quote, I want to say I've earned every single thing, but as a white person, there is privilege. A lot of those players in the league that have been really good have been black players. This league has been built on them. The more we can appreciate that, highlight that, talk about that. I think it's very important. I have to continue to try to change that. The more we can.
When someone realizes they are happier outside a certain environment than inside it, money stops being the main reason to stay. Sports history is full of stars who walked away early because the situation around them became unbearable, like Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, and Andrew Luck. They didn't need the money anymore and decided peace of mind mattered more than legacy debates. Caitlin Clark is already financially secure, so if she decides calm and stability matter more than dealing with a league in chaos, no contract can stop that. Her decision to turn down Unrivaled adds another layer of irony. That league was meant to be a solution, a way for players to earn good money at home instead of overseas, and Clark was seen as the key to major TV deals. Stephen A. suggested her choice was very intentional. Caitlin Clark understands leverage better than people think, and by not participating, she shows just how valuable she is. If Unrivaled struggles without her, it proves the critics right. People are tuning in for her specifically, not just for women's basketball as a general idea. That reality may be uncomfortable, but it doesn't change the truth.
Do you keep bringing it up when it's also not true? And Haley Van Lith is somebody who came out and said, Caitlin never did this to other players. She did it to her own strength coach directed toward the bench. And it's so funny because there's actually a community note on this video on X where fans came in and said, Haley Van Lith already cleared this up in an interview that Caitlin Clark never did that towards her and she didn't do it toward other players also. You keep bringing up, digging up this old dirt and say that
could be a huge opportunity, but the timing of the union's early opt-out raises big questions. Why act now instead of waiting? Officially, they want a new operating model that reflects the league's growth, with higher pay, better pensions, and improved working conditions, all reasonable on the surface. But underneath, fear is driving the move, fear that the league's golden moment could slip away, that the current hype might fade, and that waiting would weaken their negotiating power. Ironically, by creating instability, they risk destroying the very momentum they want to benefit from. Fans aren't loyal out of duty, they tune in because it feels exciting. If games were locked out, delayed, or cancelled, they wouldn't protest, they'd just move on. Stephen A. pointed out that the NBA relied heavily on stars like Magic Johnson and Larry Bird because the league needed them to survive. Fairness came later. The WNBA is in a similar pivotal moment. The idea that every player deserves equal attention, regardless of impact, isn't noble, it's naive. When the union pushes for equal outcomes while ignoring the players driving most of the revenue, it sends a signal to sponsors that real-world results don't matter, which usually leads them to pull back their investment.
The Caitlin Clark. Now I've taken hits because I was calling it from day one. You got people that are resentful towards her, but it's really not about her, guys. It's about what she represents. Before she ever came along, there were a lot of outstanding basketball players who happened to be black females that was doing their thing on the WNBA level. And they never got this kind of shine.
There's also a global factor that few are talking about. Caitlin Clark isn't just a US star anymore, she's a worldwide brand. European basketball clubs could pay her huge sums for short exhibition tours, and a global tour in cities like London, Paris, and Tokyo would likely sell out arenas everywhere. She could earn more in a single month than the WNBA pays all its players in a year. For her, the WNBA is just the easiest option to play, not the only one. Stephen A. noted that her global reach gives her an escape the league can't control. If the WNBA becomes too toxic, she can take her career anywhere, and fans would follow. That possibility is a major threat to the league's long-term stability. Once fans see this alternative, Stephen A. called ignoring it economic suicide, and it's hard to disagree. TV networks sign big deals betting on her continued participation, and if she steps away or games are stopped by disputes, those networks won't just cover the losses, they'll enforce contract clauses and withhold payments. Suddenly, the revenue everyone is fighting over could vanish entirely, leaving a revenue share of zero.
I had no problem with her being Times Athlete of the Year. You see why I said that she should have been on Team USA? You see why I had to go off on the likes of Cheryl Swoops and others who were clearly distant and dismissive of her, no matter how much they try to deny it? There was resentment towards her. And here's why I said it was stupid. Because when she came into the WNBA, for 22 plus years, they had been flying commercial. They were begging for chartered flights. She arrives there, and 2 weeks later, they got chartered flights.
Behind the scenes, some agents are quietly frustrated. They understand that a rising tide lifts all boats. Caitlin Clark's unprecedented presence opened endorsement opportunities for many players who had never had them. Her impact even forced the league to finally provide charter flights, something decades of negotiations hadn't achieved. Yet instead of gratitude, some factions responded with entitlement. That frustration isn't really about Clark personally, it stems from past struggles that veteran players endured. While it's emotionally understandable to be upset that a 22-year-old hasn't faced the same hardships, fans don't care about union politics, they care about Caitlin Clark herself. Ratings, jersey sales, and overall engagement prove that. By holding out from unrivaled, she showed she can remain globally